Okay, good evening, ladies and gents. So the project was to compare and contrast elements from a book series that was turned into a movie or TV show. And originally, I was going to pick Percy Jackson, and I was really stoked about this assignment because I'm never happier than when I'm given the opportunity to talk about the second Percy Jackson movie. Watching that movie is akin to experiencing the world's greatest acid trip. It is equal parts amazing and god-awful, and I love it. But it is with a heavy heart that I let all of you know that today we are not going to be talking about Percy Jackson, because 10 minutes before I saw this assignment, someone had already called dibs on it. So instead, I'm going to be discussing The Hunger Games. Before I get into The Hunger Games, I feel like I should let all of y'all know up front that in the process of making this video, my mind started going a wee bit insane, because the world building in this franchise makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. In fact, the series makes negative amounts of sense. Once you finish the book or movie, you become empirically dumber simply by trying to understand the world of Pan Am. Jen, your assignment has fundamentally changed me. By trying to understand the world of Pan Am, I've become a lesser person. I've become that which I've always feared. I've become a fool, an idiot. I stared into the Hunger Games and it stared back. This is vodka, by the way. So allow me to present unto you Before I get into the world building of the Hunger Games, let me quickly explain the plot of the books and show you how the movies differ very slightly. So, J-Lo enters into a Fortnite competition against 23 other people with a baguette boy in order to protect her sister. She is coached by a melancholic drunk and a sentient avant-garde Barbie doll. During the games, Katniss goes all Legolas and starts slaying people with her bow. Partway through the game, Peeta gets injured and uses his cake decorating skills to help him disguise himself with a tree. She also screws with Peeta's emotions by faking being in love with him so they can get more supply drops. Eventually, they both win the game, and then a year later they get to do it all over again, but this time they team up with Aquaman and some nerds. The nerds find a way to short-circuit the force field that surrounds the games and turn it off. Katniss, Aquaman, and the nerds are able to escape to District 13, which at this point in the series, everyone just kind of assumed was obliterated, but I'll get into it later, don't worry about it. Bread Boy and some characters that don't really matter get captured by the Capitol. Katniss teams up with the president of District 13 in order to overthrow the Capitol. Aquaman gets married, Mazel Tov. Katniss and crew break into the Capitol. Along the way, most of the team gets murdered, including Aquaman, Rip, and Katniss' sister, who was the whole emotional catalyst for this entire story. Eventually, Katniss captures President Snow, and Snow tells her that he didn't actually kill her sister, and it was actually District 13 who killed her sister. Katniss kills the president of District 13, and Snow dies somehow. It's never really explicitly clear how he died, he just kinda did. The story jumps ahead 15 years, and Bread Boy and Edgelord Legolas live happily ever after. They got 2 kids, the Hunger Games are outlawed, the end. The movies, for the most part, stick pretty close to the source material. The only real differences are that they tone down the amount of gore. For example, in the book, Finnick gets decapitated, just straight up murdered. But in the movies, he gets blown up. And also they changed the appearance of some of the characters, like how in the books, Peeta's eyes are blue, whereas in the movies they're brown. Anyway, that's pretty much most of the differences. They fall into one of those 2 categories. Now that I have the required part of this assignment out of the way, I want to get into the part that I really want to talk about. Pan Am, the nation that Hunger Games takes place in, makes no sense at all. It is insanely stupid. Firstly, let's talk about the geopolitical landscape of Pan Am, a sentence which I don't think anyone on Earth has ever said before. Before I show you the official map of Pan Am, I want you to imagine what it looks like. And it doesn't matter if you've read the books before or not. You ready? Because here's the map. And again, I know I just said this, but I can't stress enough, this is the official map of Pan Am. Lionsgate used this to promote movies with. Sadly, they never made an official map that imposed Pan Am onto already existing landmasses, and I don't really blame them for that. In order to do that, you'd have to be some kind of borderline insane weirdo with a lot of time on their hands. So anyway, here's a map of Pan Am I made. Hunger Games takes place after all the ice caps have melted, meaning that the sea level is a lot higher. All of Florida is gone, so I guess global warming isn't entirely all bad. Pan Am is divided into 13 districts and a capital, and they run off a planned economy, meaning that each district only specializes in the production of just a handful of goods. For example, we have District 5, or as I have lovingly renamed it, the mitochondria. It specializes in the production of electricity. Let's go down the list, shall we? Firstly, we have District 1, the bootlickers. They're the capital's lapdogs and only produce luxury goods. District 2, the Geode Dudes. They mine cobblestone and other junk. District 3, Neo Silicon Valley. They produce electronic goods and are basically just a giant R&D department. District 4, the Fishy Boys. They fish, and that's about it. District 5 we've already gone over. District 6, Large Detroit, they focus on the transportation sector, and also, just like regular Detroit, have a horrifically bad drug problem. District 7, Lumberjack and Bros, they cut trees. District 8 deals with textiles and clothing, and I couldn't come up with a clever title for them. Districts 9 and 11, or North and South Kansas respectively, they deal with growing crops and other agriculture junk. District 10, the Dystopian Cowboys, they mostly focus on livestock, specifically cattle. District 12, Western Virginia, they just mine coal. Lastly, we have District 13, who prior from splitting from Pan Am, which I will explain later, focused almost entirely on the production of nuclear weapons. That's it. That was their whole thing. They didn't do anything else other than make nuclear weapons. And the capital was somehow surprised that the one district that had access to nuclear armaments was the one who would want to rebel. The part that I struggle with the most about District 13 is that if we look at a map, we'll notice that most of District 13 falls into what is now modern-day Quebec. If you know little to nothing about the history of Quebec, then let me explain in 3 reasons why the capital royally screwed up by giving the Quebecois access to nukes. 1, they're French, icky. 2, the Quebecois are insanely xenophobic. And 3, almost every other month they try to leave Canada. Why would you think they would want to stay in Pan Am? Putting all your nukes in District 13 is akin to America putting all of its nuclear arms inside of Louisiana. Do you honestly think there wouldn't be any negative repercussions for that? Within like a year, the world would be under the control of like irradiated alligators. In the process of researching and writing this video, I came across many articles and Reddit threads claiming that Pan Am was a communist state. Putting aside the fact that the term communist state is oxymoronic from a Marxist perspective, in what world do you come to that conclusion? You would have to have the brain of an infantile koala to think that Pan Am is in any way communistic. Most of the arguments I could find centered around 3 core things. 1, it's authoritarian. 2, they ration food. And 3, there's a huge wealth disparity between the wealthy elites and the poor common folk. Let me just quickly counter all of these claims by asking, does that mean America is a communist country? Because as I write this, Roe v. Wade is about to get overturned. That seems pretty authoritarian, you know, controlling the bodily autonomy of individuals. 2, you know there are homeless kids in America that like starve to death on a daily basis. Like, wealthiest country in the world, and yet we still have children that die from starvation. And 3, allow me to introduce you to my friends Jeffy B and Elon. Do you think that there's no wealth disparity in this country? And like, I just want to make it clear, I'm not a communist. I'm just a boy with an IQ that's higher than room temperature who understands the definitions of these terms, unlike these so-called journalists who write articles that are completely devoid of any semblance of meaning. Anyway, rant over, let's get back to the video. The Panamanian government, not to be confused with the Panamanian government, according to their wiki, is a democratic constitutional republic, meaning they have democratically elected officials that govern and make rules and laws based off of an already existing constitution. It is also an authoritarian police state, much like modern America. Now, if you're anything like me, you might be asking yourself, why would any of the districts agree to join the capital if they have to give up all economic and social autonomy in doing so? Well, that's because the capital has the largest army and also the best futuristic weapons. Meaning, if you don't join them, they'll just kill you. Much like how America views developing nations, as long as you do what they say, you'll be fine. But the second you step out of line, they'll just carpet bomb you and then get your citizens addicted to morphling, which is just like future crack. Now, I don't know for a fact if Suzanne Collins based Pan Am off of the American government, and I couldn't find any articles or wiki pages discussing what she actually based it off of. So, like the good journalist I am, I sent her a DM on Twitter, and then I realized that Suzanne Collins, the author, doesn't actually have a Twitter account, and I had just sent a Twitter DM to a random British lady. My bad, the misspelling of mom in her bio really should have been a dead giveaway for me, but I just kind of like assumed that there was only one famous Susan Collins, and like she had the verified checkmark thing, so like, you know, So the world may never truly know what Pan Am is meant to symbolize, but at this point I can live with that. I can live without understanding the full meaning of the Panamian government. Panam is a world filled with questions, but has very, very few answers. So originally I was going to spend a whole lot more time on this, like I'm talking like twice the length. I really wanted to talk more about like the history of District 13, the first rebellion, which is the event that led to the making of the Hunger Games, and also talk about how like District 13 is like an actual fascistic nation. And like the political environment of Pan Am, I could have gone on for like at least 30 minutes just rambling. I was so focused on this assignment that I spent 5 hours last Sunday reading Marx and Plato to better understand the political terminology I've been using. The problem with that being that I still have to record and edit this, and so I had to stop writing so that I could make sure I had enough time to finish this. So to make sure that Sunday wasn't a complete waste of time, allow me to leave you with a quote from the late and great Plato. Wealth and poverty. One is the parent of luxury and indolence. The other, meanness and viciousness. And both of discontent. But don't ask me what it means. I got no clue. I'm gonna go take a cold shower now. Good night.